Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this GOYOJO quarter-inch drive torque wrench. So this was provided to me by the distributor, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful and you want to purchase one of these, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So the range on this is 2 to 24 Newton meters or 1.5 to 17.7 foot-pounds. So let's get this open. So this comes with a blow molded case. Open it up. Here we have the instructions, a certificate of calibration. Look it through the manual. So I'm not going to cover everything in this. You'll want to read through it. So a couple things to point out. You should only use this for tightening. It's not a general purpose ratchet, so you don't want to use it for loosening. When you're finished using it, you should back the torque off for storage. So it comes with a variety of bits. A lot of these would be good for a bicycle. Of course, this can be used for other applications. And a lot of people will have socket sets, but they won't have these specialty sockets. So you can add this to your existing socket set and use your existing quarter-inch sockets. But then when you need specialty bits, there's a good variety here. So we have hex sockets in 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Then we have Torx in 10, 20, 25, and 30. For regular sockets, we have 8, 6, and 10. This also comes with an extension. It's a 4-inch extension and it has knurling on it, so that can help you run nuts and bolts in quickly with your fingers before you use the torque wrench. And here we have the torque wrench itself. Now it looks like the bottom here unthreaded a little bit. We'll thread that back in. Okay, so let's get a measurement on the wrench itself. So this is just right at 10 inches. Now when you adjust this, it will go up and down a little bit. So here's the ratchet. So it's kind of a micro ratchet. You can hear it. We have a button on the back, so you press that to attach the socket, and that will hold the socket on there. Now you can reverse this, but you'll mostly have it in the tighten mode. Then to adjust the torque, pull down on this and turn it. So when it's up, it's locked. When you pull it down, it tightens. So sometimes it can be easier even just to turn the wrench itself. Now on this side we have Newton meters, this side we have inch pounds. So say we want 8 Newton meters. There's a lot of glare here. Let's see if I don't know if that's better. So let's go to Newton meters. Let's say we want 8 Newton meters. So I'm going to look for 0 here and I'll rotate it. Now you can see 8 here, but the line goes down towards the center. You want to line this up with the center line. So I'll rotate it. And there we are. So you can see the 8 line goes down, we have 0 on that center line. Now if we want 8.2, pull this in, and there we have 8.2, and that kind of snaps. So if I pull it down, if I'm in between, I turn a little bit, it will snap in place. So if we want 9, we're going to turn this till it says 1. So we have 8 and 1 is 9. Want 9.2, turn it here, we have 8, 1.2, so 8 plus 1.2 is 9.2. Then on the other side, this is where it can get a little more complicated. So we have inch pounds here. Now if you want foot pounds, you can divide the inch pounds by 12, but then these are also decimals, so it says 70.8. So what they did is they took the values of the Newton meters and calculated out the inch pounds. So if you have inch pounds or foot pounds as the value you need to torque to, it might be easier to just convert it to Newton meters. But you can do the same thing here. You can rotate this until it lines up and you can add the values and choose the right torque. So I've been working on a car recently and it lists the foot pounds and Newton meters. So I find it easier just to use the Newton meters. So when you're done using it, you'll back it off and then we can store it. So now let's go test this out on some different things. So the first thing I'm going to test this on is a Honda minivan. Now there are lots of 10mm fasteners in it. I'll put the 10mm socket on. I have it in Tighten mode, and those get torqued to 8.7 Newton meters. So I'll turn this up to 8. So I'm pulling this down each time I rotate. I could also just hold this down and turn this. So there's 8. There's 0.6. So 0.7 is halfway between. So you can do tighter or looser. I'll just do 8.8. Now every torque wrench is going to have a tolerance. So this says the tolerance is 3%. And here we have the calibration sheet. And now at 12 Newton meters, it measured 12.1, 12.2, 12.3. So if we look at the calibration sheet, it was measuring high. So that actually makes me think I'll set this to 8.6. So I think that'll get me very close. So let's head out to the car and test it. Okay, so I'm out here at this Honda minivan. So this is just loaded full of 10mm bolts. Here's one on the timing cover. So I've loosened this one up just a little bit so I can retorque it. So there we are, torqued. So you can see it clicks when it gets to the right torque. I recently replaced the gasket in this plenum. Now this has a sequence you follow, so I wrote it on here. Let me just recheck all these. Okay, one of them was just slightly loose. Now in something like this, if you just put this on and you just hand tighten all these and maybe you start over here, this could bend this cover and cause it to leak. So torque wrench is really the way to go with something like this. Now I found on the Honda that pretty much all of these 10mm bolts are 8.7 Newton meters. So this torque wrench is very ideal for tightening a lot of these things. So we're talking like the intake, the plenum, valve cover gaskets. I just did an oil pan, these power steering bolts, timing cover bolts. Of course, this will go up higher, so some of the larger bolts, it can also torque down. Another application for this torque wrench is tightening bolts on a bicycle. So here I have the manual for my bicycle, and it has a table for different torque values. Here we have the binder bolt for the seat, and up here we have the torque values. Now something to point out here is it has different binder bolts, probably for different models. It has M4, M6, and M8, and this is referring to the size hex key you need for it, not the bolt size. So mine uses an M4 hex key, so the torque is 1.9 to 3.9 Newton meters. So we'll set this here. Now we can set this to 4 Newton meters. And then I'll back it off by 0.2, so we're at 3.8 Newton meters. So I'll get the 4mm hex key on here, and let's go tighten that binder bolt. Okay, so here I am at the seat post. I'll put the torque wrench in the seat clamp, and I'll tighten that down. Let me get in there. There we go. Okay, there it clicked. I'll do the other side because this has a bolt on either side. I'm going to get in a little tighter. Hopefully, I'm going to try and do this slow. There we go. So these low torque values can really kind of sneak up on you, so you don't want to wrench too fast. Let me double check the other side. So when I tightened this one loosened up. And that's just the nature of this type of clamp. So this does not seem very tight to me, but this is what the bike manufacturer says the torque is for this clamp. So if I was doing this without a torque wrench, I'd most definitely be over tightening that. So here we're at a 3D printer. I'm putting a new nozzle on. I want to torque this to 2 Newton meters. So I'll set it to 2 Newton meters. I'm going to put the extension on, and now I'm going to tighten it down. So I'm going to hold this with my crescent wrench. So as I tighten this, I'm going to put a little pressure on my crescent wrench towards the back. Okay, I'm feeling a little pressure, and I'll tighten the torque wrench until it clicks. There we go. So using a torque wrench is a great way to know that you're not over tightening the nozzle. So that's the GOYOJO 1/4 inch drive torque wrench. More and more I find that I'm using a torque wrench when I'm working on things. If I know the torque values, I like to torque them down. When I was growing up, a lot of fasteners were steel on steel. It seems like more and more of the things I work on are steel bolts into aluminum or alloy. It's that way when I work on bicycles. It's that way when I work on cars. Also, the bolts are getting smaller. They're just the size they need to be. So I like using a torque wrench as is recommended by the service manual. It makes sure I tighten the fastener enough without tightening it so much that I break the fastener. Now I found this torque wrench very easy to use. It has nice markings on it. Just pull this back. Adjust it to what you want it at. It has a nice micro ratchet on it, so if you don't have a lot of space to tighten, it makes it easier to tighten. And it has a nice small head on it. So my first torque wrench I ever got was a 1/2-inch drive torque wrench. And that can be nice for lug nuts and such, but when I'm working on smaller things, engine components, this is a much more suitable size. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.